This has lots of competition. Okay, so this is the Apple Watch Ultra Series 2, which is turned off because it's not been charged for a while. And this is the Apple Watch Ultra Series 3, which is on and has been on my wrist for quite a while now. I am a little bit late to the party with the review because I wasn't sure how to review the Apple Watch Ultra 3 because it's so similar to the second generation and I had the first generation. And to be honest, none of them are that different. The biggest difference really is the screen brightness, the chip that's inside there, and the fact there's a black version which looks much, much better. So I thought in this video, rather than do a standard review of the Apple Watch Ultra 3, let's compare it against two very interesting competitors from Huawei. This is the Watch Ultimate 2 and this is the GT6 Pro. This came out earlier this year, this came out very recently, and I was a huge fan of the Ultimate 1. It was my weekend watch basically, so when this arrived I was very excited. The big question is, are they better than the Apple Watch Ultra 3? Because they do work with the iPhone, which means they're quite tempting, and one of them in particular, this one, let's not beat around the bush, is a lot cheaper. Let's get into it. In front of me, I have a whole bunch of categories that pertain to these watches. So things like the design, the build, the battery, sports functionality, all that stuff. And basically, I'll go through each one and give you my opinion on each of these watches, starting with the pricing. So the Apple Watch Ultra, these are UK prices, is $749. The Watch Ultimate 2 from Huawei is $899 and the GT6 Pro is $329. So three very differently priced watches. What do I think about the pricing? I think this is a bit of a bargain. I think the Apple Watch Ultra 3 for $749, I've always thought it's quite well priced. I think for Apple, in theory, this should be like a 1,200, 1,500 quid watch. I was amazed when the first Apple Watch Ultra came out and it wasn't that price. I'm still surprised basically. So I think it's a good value that in terms of the pricing, certainly in the UK. The Watch Ultimate 2 at 900 quid is a lot of money, so it needs to really justify that price, I think. Let's start with the design and the build. I'll begin with the Ultimate 2 because it's one of my favorite looking smartwatches ever, if not my most favorite ever, actually. It's just a lovely watch. It's very big. If I put this on my wrist now, you'll see it takes up an awful lot of your wrist, and for some people that's not good enough, it's too big, but that's completely a subjective and personal thing. I've always liked big watches, and I prefer circular watches to square watches personally. But regardless of any of that, I don't think you can deny that this is a very good looking watch. It comes with a couple of different straps, this metal link bracelet, and also in the very fancy box we get this band here, which again is very nice. It's much more sporty, this one. Probably better to wear this if you're doing workouts and stuff, but that's definitely the kind of dress watch. I love the look of the Ultimate 2. The GT6 Pro, okay, it's circular, so one box ticked. One box not ticked for me is this particular strap. You can get different straps for this, obviously, so it's unfair to mark it down because of that, but that was the strap I was sent to review. And against the Ultimate, this is a much cheaper watch, remember, but this looks better by quite a distance, I think. In fairness, it does combine that kind of dressy feel with it, so you could wear this to dinner and not feel out of place with a great big sports watch on your wrist, but it balances that with the ability to be a very comfortable sport watch as well. The Apple Watch Ultra 3, I've gone between loving it and not being quite as keen on it in terms of the design, but when the black version came out, completely sold. I'm an Apple fanboy. Let's get this very straight. So when they do stuff like this, and it's very, very aesthetic and completely, vacuous, I love it. It's just a different color. I think the Ultra 3 in black is the one to go for. Yes, it's a square watch, but I can get beyond that when it looks as good as this. Oh, and if you're wondering, this isn't an Apple strap. This is a Nomad strap, which is lovely. We'll put a link down below so you can go and check it out. Let's move on to the battery. Okay, battery life. This is important to me because I think it's important to have a watch that doesn't need charging that often, or at least that can be charged very quickly and isn't a burden because of that. The Apple Watch Ultra 3 delivers there, in fairness, because it is very quick to charge. You know, you can stick it on the charger while you're having a shower and get back enough juice for the rest of the day. That's good news. In terms of the battery life itself, Apple says 36 hours of typical use and 72 hours in low power mode. I never use low power mode. The only time I ever use that is if I'm off on a hiking expedition, which happens at the moment once every couple of years. It's quite rare. In my experience, these are 3-day watches. The Ultra 2 was the same. This is possibly slightly better. It's definitely better than the Apple Watch Ultra 1, which wasn't really a 3-day watch. This is, to be fair. However, the GT6 Pro, according to Huawei, can last up to 21 days and 45 hours in trail mode, which I've never tried before, but that standard 21 days of battery life is transformative and it's accurate. You get so long out of this watch. It's Garmin levels of battery life, and that is saying something because Garmin, they are the king of battery capacity and battery life from watches. And this is a proper smartwatch. It does everything this does. It connects to your iPhone. It does all the tracking, all the notifications, everything. And that is with the always on display turned on. It's really impressive. The Ultimate 3, according to Huawei, will give you 4.5 days on Android and up to 3.5 days on iOS. I have no idea why it's different, but again, it does beat this. And in reality, it beats this by quite a margin. I think I've got about 5 days out of this in the past. And again, that is based on fairly limited usage, but it's with the always on display turned on. It's with the occasional tracking of workouts and stuff. And again, it's just so convenient. Something else that might need another helping hand with the battery life is your iPhone, which brings me to this week's sponsor. This is the MagFlow 25-watt MagSafe charger, and it's the first Qi 2 certified 25-watt power bank. So if, like me, you're using the iPhone Air or any iPhone 17 series device, you basically take this, you pop it on the back of your phone, and you get 25-watt charging. So it's a bit like having a wired charging setup without the wires. Although it does have a built-in wire. It has this USB-C cable, which is so useful, firstly for carrying it around like that, but if you want to charge stuff like that, you can. But it's not just about speed, it's about that design. First off, it's sleek, it's ultra portable, and it snaps on with very strong magnets. And that means you can toss it in your bag, forget about it, and your phone stays in place. The magnets are more precisely aligned than ever, meaning less risk of overheating and more reliable charging speeds. Trust me, once you've used the MagFlow, it'll quickly feel like one of those accessories that you cannot travel without. It's perfect for those long days when finding power just isn't possible, or you have the iPhone Air and you're constantly thinking about the battery. There's also a handy display which shows how much charge is left, and if you don't have the latest iPhone, it doesn't matter. This is backwards compatible with Qi and Qi 2 devices, so you'll still get up to 15 watts. To find out more and get 25% off, just click that link down below. Right, fitness, health tracking, and outdoor adventure performance. I will level with you guys. I live in Leamington Spa. If you've never heard of it, look it up. The sea is very far away, so I can't go and do snorkeling and stuff. The other thing that I can't do is play golf. I tried golf years ago and I'm awful at it. And one thing that does separate all three of these is that particular sport. The Ultimate 2 and the Ultimate 1, it's a very good, apparently a very good golfing watch. And I think you can do the golfing stuff on here, the golfing kind of tracking and course stuff. They both have that, which this doesn't. Although I think you can get apps, golf apps for this, which roughly do the same thing. But these are sold, this one in particular is sold as being a very nice companion for golf players. So if you are a golf person, I would consider this. Equally, if you are a diving person, because the Ultimate 2 has sonar communication. I can't test that, I'm sorry. I could try and test it in my bath at home, but that's not going to work. So if you do that kind of stuff, diving and what have you, that's interesting. Although the Ultra 3 also has diving stuff built into it. It's a diving computer, so that's good. The one thing the Ultimate 2 does have, which the other two don't, is this X-Tap sensor. You put your finger on there and it measures an ECG, SpO2, HRV, and a few other things, and gives you this kind of health glance with 11 metrics. It's not a doctor, and if anything comes from that which you're a bit concerned about, obviously go and see a doctor. But it's quite nice to have that on the watch and just occasionally check in on how you're doing. I do like that, and you don't get that on either of these, even though they both have heart rate monitoring. The two Huawei watches have the TrueSense sensor on the back of them, which is very fancy, but then so is the one on the... To be honest, when it comes to health and fitness, They all do pretty much the same thing. The GPS, for instance, on the Ultra 3 is dual frequency. On these two, it's a sunflower GPS. No idea what that means, but it's gonna be good, isn't it? We have reached a point with smartwatches where fitness and health tracking is covered. And the big difference between all three of these, like I say, is golf. And, well, that's it, really. They do everything else. Let's move on to something else which is more interesting, which is the concerns and limitations of these three watches, because that is probably what's going to sway your decision one way or the other. The Ultimate 2 is a very expensive smartwatch, 900 quid, which means it's much more expensive than the GT6 Pro, which makes the choice between these two fairly easy for a lot of people. It's more expensive enough than the Ultra 3 to be a problem for Huawei, I think. What saves this watch is two things: the design for people who like big watches that look quite fancy, and the golfing and the diving stuff, which is aimed at a very specific audience. I think for that audience, this makes sense big time. The concerns I have for the GT6 Pro, it's the look. The more I look at it, the more I don't like it, really. There's something about the design. I think even though it's a circular watch, it's got this kind of hexagonal thing going on around here, which I'm just not a fan of. And I just don't like that band. But that is unfair because there are other bands and it is cheaper. But the design of this bothers me. My concerns about the Apple Watch Ultra 3, there aren't many, to be honest. I think it's just the battery life could be better, and I wish it had a square face. This brings me to my inevitable conclusion about these three watches. The keen-eyed amongst you might have noticed that I'm finding this review, this comparison, quite tricky, and the reason for that is because I don't do the extreme stuff that you can do with these two watches in particular. I don't go diving, I don't play golf. Is golf extreme? You know what I mean? I'm not a proper golf person at all. And I don't do anything beyond going to the gym and just running briefly down the road. It's hard for me to look at these on that basis, but I can look at them as just very nice things, and I love nice things. You've probably got this far in this video because you're the same as me, and if that's the case, I do need to give you a conclusion. If I was held at gunpoint and someone said to me, you have to pick one of these watches, it would be the Apple Watch Ultra, obviously, because I'm an Apple fanboy and it just makes sense with the Apple ecosystem, and I do like it. It's a fantastic watch. However, because I'm in a very privileged, although hard-fought position, I do get access to other devices, and what I tend to do is wear this during the week and then wear the Ultimate 2 during the weekend. I did that with the Ultimate 1 as well and the Apple Watch Ultra 2. I just found that this was a great kind of work, normal life type stuff thing during the week, watch rather during the week, and this was a very nice thing to wear at the weekend where I might be going out with family and maybe going out for dinner and that sort of stuff. I kind of flip between these two. If you play golf, get that. And if you like big watches that look like regular watches, big smart watches that that look like regular watches, the Ultimate 2 is utterly lovely, and I think it's worth the money. If you want to save quite a bit of cash and still get a very nice smartwatch with bonkers battery life, get the GT6 Pro. Have I helped you here? I hope so. Get involved in the comments, and also guys, at the time of filming, we are giving away an iPhone 17, the one in this box. If you want to be within a chance of winning this, two things you need to do: subscribe to this channel and subscribe to the newsletter. The link for that is down in the description. In the meantime, get involved in the comments. Let's talk about these watches.